All right, let's get into position for the stability ball glute bridge. You're going to lay down on your back, have your ball nearby. Go ahead and put your feet on the ball. Just leave them there for a minute. We'll get to them in a second. I just want to kind of go over a couple little things with you. Now, the glute bridge, basically there's a way to make this movement more glute focused or more hamstring focused. Neither is right or wrong. They're just options. It's great to do both at different times. If you want to get the glutes more involved, what you're going to want to do is have the knees more bent. So, you know, this part of the leg being more bent at the knee versus less. When we're more bent at the knee, what that does is it shortens our hamstring muscle so that it can't contribute quite as well, and that forces our glute muscle to be more involved when we push up, okay? Now, if we straighten the knees out a bit more, then the hamstrings will be in a position where they can contribute more. The glutes will still be working, but now we can have more hamstring focused. So it's just kind of whichever you want to do. Today I'm going to be demonstrating more with a little bit more glute focused with the knees more bent. So to get into position here, we're going to bend our hips to 90 degrees, okay, so that our knee here is kind of in line with the hip joint. And then with your toes, they're going to be, you know, your feet about 6 inches apart, so fairly close together. They can either be the full foot on the ball like this or your heels. And again, you know, whether they're more on top of the ball or a little bit further down on the ball, you can play with that because that's going to affect how much your knee is bent. Does that make sense? Depending on how large your ball is and how much air is in it. So you can play with that. In general, will probably be, you know, with the feet on top, with the knees fairly bent like that. With our arms, there's a few different things. This will be the most stable position if you just have your arms outstretched from your body, all in contact with the ground. That will be the easiest. You can bend your elbows. That will be a little less stable and require more work of your core to keep you stable and not squirrely on the ball. As you get stronger, you can then even have your arms in the air, just with your shoulders on the floor, or cross your arms over your chest, okay? So all of those are acceptable. Hi, I'm Rizal. If you're a woman in your over 40s like myself, and you know that you should be incorporating some resistance training in your life, but you've just felt overwhelmed, not knowing where to start, not knowing how to do it safely, I create in-depth tutorials not only to show you how to do it, but really break it down, show you common mistakes to avoid, and also how to make it easier and harder. Oftentimes when we start a movement, we may not be able to do that exact movement right away, so there's ways to make it easier. If that sounds good to you and you like my style of teaching, come on over to my website at inspirefulwomen.com. Now remember, our goal here is to use our glute muscles and hamstrings to press our pelvis up to straighten the hip. And our goal is to get our knees and hips and shoulders in a straight line, or that's to shoot for that. We may not fully get that, but that's what our goal is. That's what we're kind of shooting for. So we're going to press down into the ball, either with our heels or with our feet. We're going to press down. That's going to help activate the glute muscles. Press down and then use those glutes to drive straight up, straightening here at the hip. So these muscles are straightening the hip, and go as high as you can while still maintaining a neutral spine. We don't want to be arching our spine. The spine stays neutral with just a slight curve in the low back. It's here, the glutes pushing here at the hip joint. That's our goal. Does that make sense? So the only movement really is here, with the hip going from being really bent to really straight hip. Now, as we press up, our weight is going to be both in our feet here and across the back of our upper back and in our shoulders. You don't want to have too much weight, or you don't want to have weight in your neck. It should be spread across here. If you're feeling a bunch of weight in your neck, then you're either bridging up too high or the ball's too big and you might need to little air out, or maybe move your feet out a bit. So in this case, the ball is staying pretty much in the same place. All we're doing is pressing down into the ball and driving up with our glute muscles into this bridge position and then back down. So let's go ahead and do a few just kind of like at a normal pace. So drive up and then a slow lower. You want to keep your muscles involved as you lower. You don't want to just drop down, okay? We are achieving cool stuff both on the up and the down, all right? Okay. Now a couple more pointers here. When you do the exercise, after you go up on the first rep, as you come down, you can just stay a little bit off the ground at the bottom before you go back up. So you're not coming all the way down, okay? So if you do that, it'll keep some tension on the muscle for the whole set. That can help to fatigue the muscle more efficiently, more quickly. That said, if you start experiencing cramping in your hamstrings during this exercise, what that can mean is that your glute muscles are still not really doing their job and the hamstrings are trying to handle all of this movement on their own. One way to help make sure that the glutes are getting involved and that we're creating that mind-muscle connection would be to come fully all the way down after each rep and then press down into the ball with our heels at the beginning of each rep very actively, and just make sure, you can even put your hands there on your glutes to make sure that as you start each rep, make sure your glutes feel engaged right from this really bottom portion. And then that way, as you continue driving up, they'll stay engaged. So coming down all the way in between, press down into the ball, make sure that they feel lighted up, and then continue pressing up. Thanks for being with me today, ladies. Once again, I'm Razel, and if you're a woman in your over 40s like myself, and you'd like to do full-length workouts using these same types of movements, I do create that as well. These workouts are done in beautiful outdoor nature settings with chill music. So key difference between most workouts, more chill music. If that sounds like more your style, come on over to my website at inspirefulwomen.com.